Alright, so a lot of the higher skill characters in Forsaken, people don't really know how to play them. I mean, like Noli, John Doe, and 1X. Most of the people who play as these characters, they don't really know what they're doing. Sure, they might win, but they're not really playing him the proper way. The way that, that the developers really intended, and the way that's the most optimal. So, in this video, I wanted to fix that. This video is just going to be a little compilation of like little tips that I've, discovered over my experience using 1x1x1. And if this video does well, I might do one of the other killers. I don't know, maybe John Doe. But yeah, that'll be it for the intro. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So I want to go down like the lists of abilities, and just give you tips for each one. We'll start with the general tips with Slash. They're basic M1. I'll just use general tips for this. First tip. Do not rely too much on your ranged abilities. Sure, you are going to need them to win, but do not spam them. Because, you will lose, because you can't gain enough distance on the Survivor. Sure, before 1X's like big end lag nerf, this was kind of viable as a playstyle, spamming their ranged abilities, but now the amount of end lag that you get, you'll simply just fall way behind the killer, and you just won't be able to do anything, really. So yeah, do not spam your abilities. Second of all, if you see a person, or like use Unstable Eye, and then see a person on a ledge, don't think you can't hit them, because on certain maps you can go on to higher points of the map, and you might be able to hit them with your abilities. And this might catch the survivor off guard, because they won't be expecting this. They think they're safe because they have high ground, but no. Sometimes this can work, and you can get an advantage. So, yeah. Alright, let's start with mass infection and entanglement clips. Or, not clips, tips. Um, First of all, I always recommend shooting one projectile at them, to see what their, dodging patterns is, because typically most survivors will dodge the same way multiple times. So you can send one projectile at them as a sort of test projectile. I prefer to use mass infection because of the lower cooldown, but you can send out one test projectile, and maybe if it'll hit them, like you can go one of three ways, because there are really three ways you can shoot at when predicting with 1x. Left, right, and then straight and center. So most survivors will dodge the same way multiple times. If they aren't a survivor who does that, it really just becomes a guessing game. So yeah. Second of all, with entanglement. After you hitting a person with entanglement, there's something that always only go for an M1 on the first entanglement. However, if you notice that the survivor takes a too long of a time, to get out of this, the mini game, next time you hit that survivor with an entanglement, you can go for a close-ranged mass infection. So it's really all about remembering what the survivors have done, and then responding accordingly. So yeah, of course they'll always run into that one player that is unpredictable, but yeah. So it really just becomes a guessing game, because eventually one of your projectiles might hit. Another thing about 1x, if your projectiles miss, don't worry about it. Literally every 1x misses their projectiles. It's impossible to hit your projectiles 100% of the time. So don't worry about that. If you miss your projectiles, not a big deal. Just keep chasing them. Alright. First of all, now, third ability. Unstable Eye. This is a pretty standard ability. I don't have too much to say about it. Although you can use it, sometimes how I like to do with 1X, I like to use Unstable Eye to give you a little bit of speed, because if you don't know, when you use Unstable Eye, it gives you a little bit of speed. So if you have low stamina, it might be a viable strategy to use Unstable Eye. Although you might need to be careful, because 1X relies a lot on actual, like, information of where the survivor is. So don't do this too often, because you're gonna need Unstable Eye. Because while 25 seconds isn't a major cooldown, it's still something you have to think about. Alright, the final ability, Rejuvenate the Rotten. This is a pretty interesting ability. My main tip with it is really just use it after you've killed, like, 4 or 5 survivors. Because that will be where it'll become really viable. So you don't have to always use it on LMS. My preferred time to use it, really, is when you've killed 4 or 5 survivors. And on small servers, when you don't really have that amount, I honestly recommend you don't really use the minions. It can sometimes do good, but most of the time, it really isn't worth the long animation. So yeah, on smaller servers, I don't really recommend using Rejuvenate the Rotten. And yeah, that's pretty much all the tips I have for you for 1X. He's probably the most difficult killer in the game, honestly. Like, John Doe requires more thinking, but, like, I feel like 1X's attacks are way harder to land. So yeah, as I said in the intro, if this video does well, I might do a video similar to it for the other killers, like Noli, John Doe. Leave it down in the comments what killer you would want to see me do next. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider liking, subscribing, and yeah. Alright, I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.
Bro, what?
What are we doing?
Best 1x1?
Oh.
Watch this.
Watch this, actually. Oh, wait!
I'm gonna
The
save
tag team of the century, bro.
No fucking way, bro.
Dude. Backstab and a fucking